Hey John, what's happening? Hope you're having an awesome day. Yeah, man, I'm excited about this closing. Close that deal, baby. Definitely. All right, man. Sounds good. I'll see you at closing. Hey, what's happening? My name is Maxim Cruz, and today we are talking about close. So, close is actually an acronym, and I'm going to break this video up in two parts. The first part, we're going to be talking about what close, the acronym, means, and then the second part is more kind of a sales / real estate educational, training video about what this means for your business. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. So again, my name is Maxim Cruz. I'm a real estate broker as well as a real estate investor. And today we are talking about close. So I don't recall where I learned this, but somebody, maybe it was early in real estate school. I got initially my salesperson license in 2006. So maybe early on I heard about this somewhere, but close in real estate definition, believe it or not, is kind of a term where we use to say, hey, do you have the closing documents? And you ask yourself, what are the closing documents? What do I need to close? I need the C, the L, the O, the S, and the E. Until I don't get all of these things, I don't close. So the first one, the C, what is it? Contingencies. So a few days before your real estate closing, your real estate broker or your attorneys or somebody will go over and say, hey, did all the contingencies get done? The seller had requested that the main door frame be changed, or the buyer had requested for the seller to change the main door. Was that completed? Check. Okay, that's no longer a contingency. Hey, there's financing on it. The bank has requested, I don't know, for example, insurance, or they've requested flood insurance on this property because it's in a flood zone, or whatever the case is. Has that been completed? Check. Okay, that's no longer a contingency. So until all of those contingencies have been checked off, every single one of them, and guess what? You can't close the deal. So C is for contingency. The second one is L. What's L? Legal instruments. Legal instruments. So when you're doing a closing, somebody's got to sign something. You got to sign on that dotted line, as they say. The line is actually not dotted. It's funny because the line actually says authorized. But anyways, you sign on the dotted line, right? So those legal instruments are actually the documents that the seller or the seller's attorney has to deliver for people to sign, or the buyer has to deliver for the seller to sign, or the bank has to deliver, or if there's liens, those legal instruments, those contracts, that legal information, all of this has to be done before you get there. So guess what? Just like in the buying or the due diligence, before you start drafting all of these final legal instruments or legal documents, you got to get past all these contingencies. No attorney has got to sit down and say, hey, we're ready for closing. Let's draft up the final deed if the inspection hasn't even been performed at. So again, these are all of your things that have to be done. So L is for legal instruments. O is for obstacles. And I remember this now. I think I learned this back in 2006 in my real estate class. And O is pretty funny because obstacles are things that we think about, but at the same time we don't think about. So obstacles. If something wasn't done, let's say, the inspection revealed that you had a roof leak and the seller agreed to repair that roof leak, and it was put into the contingency and it was checked once and the legal instruments were prepared, and now all of a sudden you're having a final walkthrough. That day it's raining and the roof is leaking on another spot, then guess what? At that time it was done, that was drafted, but now all of a sudden you have this obstacle that came in and it's like, uh-oh, I can't do that. I can't proceed with it, because now I have this obstacle. Obviously, there are scenarios where you could still close where this obstacle is resolved by a contingency where, let's say the sale price is $1 million, and I keep on using that number. I guess I like the 7-figure deals, but the contingency, so on this $1 million deal, the roof leak cost $10,000 to repair. The seller's attorney signs over a piece of paper that says, hey, as the attorney, I am going to retain $10,000 in escrow until that roof is repaired and until the buyer doesn't sign over a legal instrument, an agreement that says, hey, I agree after the closing, you know, the roof went and was repaired, so I'm all set, so release that money. So that's one way to relieve that obstacle. Other obstacles, if you're driving to closing and the seller or the buyer had a car accident and all of a sudden they're incapacitated, God forbid, but unless they had a power of attorney, which in that case I'm not a lawyer, check with a lawyer, maybe this isn't even possible, that if they do get incapacitated, this deal still can or can't move forward, I don't know. So, obstacle, you get into a car accident, you get a flat tire, you were gonna close in the registry of deeds and your flight got delayed and you don't have a power of attorney. Obstacles, until you pass those, you know, you still haven't gotten to that point. So, next part, S, is for signatures. So obviously things aren't done until people sign their name on their dotted line. Just like you sign this contingency document, or you sign this legal document, or then you agree to bypass these obstacles or overcome these obstacles, mutual agreement, you have signatures. Until people don't sign it, it's not in effect. You know, a signature, the best way to explain a signature is just a handshake. You know, when two people shake hands, what are they doing? They are saying, you know, I agree to sell you this marker for $1. You agree to give me that $1 in exchange for this marker. We shake hands on a piece of paper, which is a signature. We shake hands on paper and the deal gets done, which is going to bring us to the E, which is execution. So execution, and if you are a realtor, you will laugh at this, because whenever you do the purchase and sales agreement, the other realtor, or you might say, hey, send me the executed documents. The correct legal term is executory. And again, I don't want to get overcomplicated on this, but pretty much the difference between executed, when somebody gets executed, they are no longer alive. When it's Thanksgiving and your turkey got executed, you are eating that turkey. Same thing happens here. An executed document says that everything that's on that document has been performed. So back to the marker example, if that person and I agree to exchange this marker and we sign a piece of paper, when we present at the closing and I'm gonna give him that marker and he's gonna give me that $1, that is the execution. We have executed that contract. That is essentially complete. That contract is complete and executed. Until it's actually executed, it's an executory contract. So I just laugh at that because us realtors, we say, send us the executed contract all the time. We think that it's just, you know, the signatures have been done, but no, it's actually the execution is when it's complete. So As far as real estate goes, again, you can't close on a transaction until all of these things are done, until the contingencies are met, until the legal agreements or instruments are done, until all the obstacles are complete, until the signatures are done, and until those things have been executed. And again, part of the execution is obviously the registry of deeds, or if you have a title company that handles all that stuff and recording with your local authorities. So all that stuff is in the process of that execution. So again, this is just a nice little acronym where when you say, hey, are the closing documents ready? You know, you might be just considering, hey, did the seller do all the stuff that they said they were going to do after the inspection? If I'm the buyer, hey, the bank has asked me 500 times for our most recent bank statements. I send them again. Do they have that? You know, go and double check that. Are there any obstacles? Hey, I got to fly in that day because I don't have a power of attorney. Should I do a power of attorney just in case? What happens if I do get seriously hurt? You know, what if I am incapacitated to make a decision? Can I still buy this property for my estate, for my company? Is, you know, if I'm the decision maker for our company and I'm the one that has to sign, and if I die or I become incapacitated, do I have backup systems in place that I leave? So if that happens, that deal still goes through. The company is still in a good position in order to buy this investment, in order to move forward. So it's not fully dependent on me being present and signing that paper. Am I covering all of my obstacles? Is the other side being an obstacle? You know, how do we get through that? So, and then finally, signatures and execution. So that's pretty much it on the real estate side of things as far as it is from a buyer-seller perspective. And again, if you have any questions regarding this part, please let me know. Make sure you're in contact with your other legal professional or tax professionals, as there might be more issues that you have to consider for the closing stages of your deal. So next we're going to move on to part 2, and I'm going to cut this video here. If you're interested in watching part 2, stay tuned. And now we are going to be diving into what close means for you and your business. I don't know how many times it's been said, you know, everybody from Zig Ziglar, which I'm a huge fan of, Grant Cardone, you know, 10X all the way. You know, closing is the way of life. Things, you know, don't happen in life until they close. You can't grow up and be big and be an adult if you haven't closed the childhood stage of your life. And I don't mean things like, oh, you know, playing basketball is for kids. You know, I'm not going to go out and play basketball anymore because that's childish. No, that's not what I mean. I mean being an adult and making adult decisions. And, you know, if we're making the same decisions that we made at 5 years old and now we're 35, well, you know, it's hard to close out that stage and achieve that maximum potential of what our lives are going to be if we haven't closed out those stages. So even in life, and getting a little bit more on a grim note, even in death, when somebody passes away, and you know, I was really close to my uncle, and when my uncle passed away, you know, you deal with grief, but there comes a time where you have to close that grief, where in order for you to move on and to get to the next stage of your life, you know, you can't just be in grief. So there's so much in life that's related to close. And going back to the salesperson part of things, you know, each one of us is closing every single day. From the moment we wake up and that alarm clock sounds, you have two decisions. You have decision A, hit the snooze button and sleep for an extra 15 minutes to an hour, 2 hours, whatever. Or you have decision B, to get up at the time that you said you were going to get up and do what you said you were going to do. You close yourself on A, I'm going to stay sleeping, or B, I'm going to get up even though I don't want to. So you close that from the moment that you get up. I don't know about you, there's all these people that talk about morning routines. My morning routine is fairly simple. From the moment I wake up, I go to the bathroom. So I close myself. My body closes me. It's my natural closing that, hey, I gotta go to the bathroom. So that's part B of my life. Then it's, exercise. You either close yourself to be on exercise routine, even if you don't do it daily, maybe you exercise 2 or 3 times a week, but you close yourself. We close ourselves every single day on the things that we want to do. And that's, then we get into business. Every single individual is in business. No matter if they are employed by somebody else, if you work a job, if you have your own company, whatever you are doing, you are in business. Now, what's funny is I didn't understand this until I think it was Zig Ziglar that mentioned it, and then I heard another book by a Jewish rabbi, Business Secrets in the Bible. And it's interesting because what we close on are a few things. So everyone is in business, right? If you have a job, which every one of us has a job, if you are in business and you are making decisions for your company, your job is to make decisions for your company. If you have a job, you're employed by a company and you get paid to do a task, your job is to do that task. So everybody has a job, but everybody is in business. The difference is when you work for somebody else, for a company, so let's put company, and this is you. You work a job at that company. For whatever you do, that company pays you, right? So everybody is in business. When you work for this one company, your business has one customer. That one customer is that company that you work for. It's very simple. Now, if you own a company, or actually I'm going to put business. So everyone is in business. All right, everyone is in business. So now all of a sudden same person that's doing that job, your job in this business is to make decisions. Now, here where you had one customer as a business, which is your company to pay you money, now you as a business owner has this customer, this customer, this customer, this customer. You might be working with several different companies. You might be working with several different people. You might be working with several different countries, several different states. Whatever you're doing, you have multiple individuals that you are working with. Now, if you don't understand this part, rewind it, watch it again. Again, the basic explanation is that every single person is in business. Whether you're in business servicing one company or person, or you're in business servicing many companies, many people, you are in business. Now, as far as commissions, this I remember 100% I learned from Zig Ziglar. And maybe there's other guys that say it in different ways. Every single individual on this planet works on a commission basis. Let me prove this to you, okay? If you would just open your mind for 30 seconds, I'm gonna prove this to you fairly simple. At this job that you work for, this company, they agree to pay you $50,000 per year. in this business that you work for this company, this business pays you $50,000 per year. Here, you go to work 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, however you do it, it doesn't really matter to me. They agree that as long as you do your job, they will pay you in increments. So on a monthly basis, they're gonna pay you, 50,000 divided by 12, roughly, 4,200 and change on a weekly basis, $1,000 a week, whatever. They're gonna pay you on a weekly basis as long as you do your job. If you don't believe me and you work a job, go into work or don't go to work for a week and see what happens. All of a sudden, this commission, this paycheck is not there. When you are in business, when you work on commission, you make a contract with every one of these people. If you don't perform with this company, if you don't perform with that company, if you don't perform with this person and you don't perform with this country, that business is not going to pay you $50,000 a year. It's simple, okay? Everybody is in business. That is the first part. If I closed you on that and you want to continue watching, now let's go into the next part of why closing matters. If I haven't closed you, let me say it this way. Whatever you are doing from beginning to end. Whatever you are being paid, you are being paid based on your performance. If you are in a job that pays highly well based on your performance, you are probably earning well. If you are in a business that pays fairly well based on your performance, you are being paid fairly well. The biggest difference between having a company that pays you versus multiple companies that pays you is just that, multiple streams of income. But everyone is in business, okay? So now let's move to the close. So we got this part down. If you don't agree with me, I appreciate you. I love you. Keep on watching my other content. Maybe you're interested in more of the real estate stuff. Great, not a problem. That's okay. So the close. Whether you're in a job or whether you're in a business, you need to close. Which means what? You have A and you have Z. So if you're in a job, that company hired you, right here A, you went into work, you worked 40 hours a week, your supervisor signed off saying you did a good job, and they gave you a paycheck, right? So once this completes, you go back, starting at A. This is a job for one company, right? So let's say right here is $1,000 per week. You started here, you were hired to do the job, you did this part, you showed up, you worked for 40 hours, you were evaluated, you did the right job, you were rewarded, they gave you this $1,000, the transaction is closed. If you want to make the next $1,000, you're back to step A. You gotta show up because you're already hired. You do the job, maybe you do it a little bit better, you get a higher evaluation, you get paid. And you do this. So you do this for, let's say, 50 weeks during the year, you got 2 weeks vacation, whatever, you get $50,000. Simple, right? That is a job with one company. Now again, it doesn't matter if you have a job, if you own your own business. If you have a business, you still have a job. Your job is to make decisions for that business. Now, let's look at it in multiple scenarios. Actually, I'm going to erase here. And this is kind of interesting. So A, Z, Z, Z. So now, let's say, doesn't matter if you're in a job or a business or whatever, let's say you have multiple employees or employers, I'm sorry. So that means that you work one job in the morning and you work one job in the afternoon. This job pays you $1,000 per week. This job pays you, I don't know, $700 per week, right? You gotta do the same thing. Now what's interesting in business, when you have multiple people, and this is where, you know, everyone is on commission, because you are not guaranteed, you know, right here, for example, when you're going to this job and you show up, let's say you show up for 20 hours a week and they weren't happy with your progress, they are going to pay you this worth right here. So instead of getting the full $1,000, you might get $500. And then you're out on the street because now you need to go back and find a job and do all that stuff and whatever. Now, in business, everyone's in business, but when you work with companies, it's exactly the same. The reward here is slightly different though, because now all of a sudden, this business right here says, hey, find me a real estate deal. I'm gonna give you 3% commission for putting that deal together and make it happen. So let's say we go back to that $1 million property that I keep on talking about. The final reward, 3% of the million, right, is $30,000. Simple. 3% of a million is $30,000. Part A, you gotta find a customer, right? My job is to find a customer. Sign the contract, sign that agreement. Yes, I will do that for you. Yes, Mr. Seller, yes, Mr. Buyer, we will work for you. We sign that contract. I gotta find a seller. I gotta market it. I gotta go through the inspection. I gotta do all that. Once the seller is happy with everything that I've gotten them, once the buyer is happy, once they go to the closing, once they sit down, and this person gives that person the money, this person gives that person the deed, this transaction is complete, then I get this. Now, the reason that so many people don't like sales is because if that doesn't happen, if this process stops here, and he no longer wants to sell, then I'm back here. 0. I find another buyer. I get to here. We don't close. I'm back here again. 0. I find another buyer. They don't make it past inspection. We're back here. 0. I've gone through this process 4 times and I'm at 0, right? But this is one company. This is one person. What if you have 4 deals? What if you have 10 deals? What if you have 100 deals? What if you have a team that you've shown the importance of this? What if you know that the most important thing in this seller's head is to sell and to move to California where he could be with his grandchildren? What if you know that the most important thing in this buyer's head is to get that property because that's the best one that they've seen? And you have 10 of these. If one of these falls through, if one of them falls through and you made the other 9 and you're making this times 9, that's 270. The hardest part of the close, hardest part of sales, is to wake up every morning and sell yourself right back here, even when you are right here. Like your closing is in an hour and you're right here, you still gotta imagine that you are here. That is the hardest close I believe that there is for everyone, because when you're here, you're shooting everything. You're trying everything, you're calling everyone, you're doing whatever it takes, you're doing there. It's when you're here. Or even worse off, it's when you're here. When you have this, And then all of a sudden it's like, well, you know, I'm living on $50,000 a year, so this can hold me over for 5 years. That is the hardest close. Closing yourself. Closing you. It is extremely difficult to wake up every day and close yourself on a story that hasn't happened yet, on a story that you are creating. But the only one that can close yourself on your story is you. Nobody else is going to close you on your story. Every single person works on a commission. Everybody. I already presented that case here where if you stop working, that's it. How the $50,000 is broken up into, 50 weeks, and how that's the arrangement that's going to pay you, or in this scenario. Or you're doing real estate investment. It doesn't matter. Until you don't close those deals, until those partnerships happen, until those things happen, until you close, nothing matters. Until you go from A to Z, nothing matters. You're at zero. Closing is the only thing that matters. Of course, people matter. You have to care about people. This person here at the close has to be 110% closed that they made the best decision based on everything that's out there. This person that's here has to be 100% closed that they got the best deal, that they made the best decision on whatever's there. That's ethics. And the reason that we hate salespeople, the reason that we hate closings, the reason that we hate all of that stuff is because there's just so much bad rep about pushy salespeople about doing that. When you wake up in the morning and your mission, your goal is to find an individual that needs whatever you have, that is struggling with whatever they're going through, and the only thing that matters is to get them in a better position at Z. If you wake up in the morning and when you ended your day, that person is not at A or Z, they're at negative Z, then no, you should not be selling. You should not be closing anyone. That is unethical. That is unprofessional, and you should not stand for that. That is just not right. But if you wake up every morning finding that person, that one person that needs whatever they need to go from A to Z, maybe it's encouragement, maybe it's $1, maybe it's a drink of water, maybe it's a piece of property, maybe it's a huge multi-million-dollar investment deal, maybe it's a product, maybe it's a color, maybe it's paint, maybe it's juice, maybe it's credit, maybe it's a bunch of things. Everything needs to be sold. When Jesus came to this planet, he sold 12 disciples to follow him. And even then, he had one that was a traitor. We wake up every day to close somebody. And the hardest close that you can make is yourself. Until you close yourself, until you're 100% certain that you as an individual need to take these steps to get in your life from point A to point Z, you're right back here. Closing is the only way of life. Closing matters. There's going to come a time where your life will close. And the only thing that is going to matter is all these little steps that happen and everybody that was involved along the way. How you made them feel. Did you do more of this where you took a person in the positive from A to Z? Or did you do more of that when you took a person from A to negative Z? The only thing that's going to matter is that. The decisions that you made, the things you listened to, the things you closed yourself on, or the things you closed yourself to. So close. Go out there and close. That's what matters. Helping people matters. You can't help people until you close. You can't close someone until they've been helped. So helping is closing, and closing is helping. Have an awesome day.